name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight we have a very, very special guest, Mr. Noah Forrest. Welcome back to the show, Noah.
I'm back.
Can't believe it.
I feel like I never left, you know?
Yeah, it's so good to have you back.
It's very comfortable. It feels like my own living room, you know?
It is. It's nice here.
Yeah.
So Noah, so happy to have you back here and also to have you back on Scriptless MD.
Right.
Yeah.
We got the MD now,
Yeah.
which throws a little monkey wrench into it.
But not, since the last time you were here, we actually got it on the air.
Right, I know.
Which I think is pretty cool.
That's amazing. The amazing thing about that is a lot of people produce independently, as you know. In the digital age, you can do anything. You can make something with your phone.
Right.
But the challenge and the trick is to have an outlet, is to have distribution. And the fact that you actually have a distribution situation here with LMC TV that broadcasts it really enhances it and takes it to another level. So it's pretty cool.
It's wonderful. And believe me, no one's more grateful to LMC TV than I am.
Yeah, I mean they do a great job. They do a fantastic job.
And we have Matt and we have Andrew as our camera people. I mean, it's
Matt
just
and Andrew doing
for,
a great job.
For Scriptless and the rest of the guys that are doing it for The Way to Go.
Right.
But, it's just, it's been incredible. And I'm so excited about it, just because, it came off, for me, it was just like a dream that I had,
Right.
And then the first person I asked to be on the show was you.
Right.
I thought of Greg, because Greg and I had worked together as doing improv before. But the first person I thought of to play my brother was you. I mean, there's no way Greg could have played my brother. At least I felt that way. But, and I just can't believe how it all materialized. And it was a little rocky in the beginning. But,
sure it was. But that's part of the vision you had, and part of getting anything done in this business, no matter what level you're at, is being aggressive and being driven. Because as you know in this business, and as I know, talk is cheap. Okay, if you had $1 for everybody that talked about doing something, we'd be producing $20 million movies, and we'd have no problems with budgets. So what you've done is you've taken an idea, you were aggressive, you were driven, and you made it happen.
But I couldn't have done it with people if I didn't have people.
Sure, of course not.
And
but it starts with you.
But it was so great to have you on the show, and you brought a certain presence on the show. I mean, you were like a powerful presence, whether it was evil or good or whatever it was. I'm not sure, but I figured it was interesting to cast you as my brother though, because I guess I'm short, you're tall, I'm old, you're young, but it was like. But it was interesting, even my brother's a little taller than me, he's older than me, but I just wanted to, I felt, especially in The Prodigal Son, I wanted to have a person who had, like left to go into Hollywood or whatever, to have Hollywood looks, whatever, to try to, go out there or something, go out there to make his life better or to experience things.
It's always a great storyline when somebody reemerges after years away. It's a tried and true formula. They still do it in Hollywood, of course. They still do it across the board in whatever type of production you're talking about. It's great because they've got baggage from where they were, what that baggage is, what did they leave behind, what are they bringing new to the picture, and how is that going to be challenging for all the characters involved. So it's a great way to stimulate any kind of story. And I thought the first episode of the original Scriptless was so much better than I could have imagined. Now, I didn't imagine it wouldn't be good, of course, but until you see it, and the way it was put together, it was really intriguing and it was compelling. And I had people tell me that were watching it, they were looking forward to the next episode. It was like, they're drawn into the characters. We had a great location, of course, the Duck Inn. I mean, everything was real great to start.
Yeah, but it is also interesting, and it progressed in different ways. But then we brought Greg in, which was an interesting character, especially the dynamics that you had with him. Yeah,
Greg was a great character you brought in.
Right.
And all the characters really were great and brought another element and brought themselves to it, which is what acting is all about as well. Right. I mean, you can train too much, I think. If you become this great, accomplished Shakespearean actor, it's very impressive. But I look at Olivier, one of the greatest stage actors of all time, and I wonder what he would have been like if he had more of himself in his character, like a Brando, who had that edge to him. Right. So I think in this situation with all these actors, they brought elements of their own personality with their skill, and that makes a complete process.
But I would also say, I would say you, or someone who could, the one thing about improv, because that's what it is dramatic improv, is that you have to be smart. You have to think on your feet. You have to be ready to respond as if it's a natural situation.
Absolutely.
And every time you were confronted with either someone who was throwing a curve or even coming direct, you were able to get to the next level, throw the ball back, but sometimes even with a slight curve. I mean, you're a tough character, you know, and you're a smart guy, and that makes, you know, the smartness makes the character more compelling.
Well, improv is one of the more challenging things you can do,
Right.
and everybody who worked on this show, everybody is really great at it, which is interesting because usually there'll be someone who has difficulty with it. But everybody was making up their own dialogue and it was flowing seamlessly with the story.
Right.
You never get that.
But I would say this, though, that I think the one thing I feel that I contributed to the show was the storyline. And the other thing was casting. And I mean, you could direct, but directing, making sure that the story stayed on the line, because some actors had a tendency to move the line around. Mm-hmm. Not you, but there were other actors who did that. But I think the story, you know, again, as you said, it was tried and true. It was a compelling story. I mean, the prodigal son. I mean, and that's where it started from. We took some turns and went into the mafioso, the mobster kind of stuff.
But
it was
that's the
still
beauty
fun.
of it, because you didn't know where it was going, and
Right.
it didn't have to have any kind of specific conformity.
Right.
You took it wherever it went, and you know, people were taking it here and taking it there.
Right.
But the fact that you were able to put something cohesive together that was compelling.
Right.
Was a challenge, and I didn't even care if you were able to do it. I figured we're all having fun. It's a workshop. We're working on our craft.
I felt it was a workshop.
Right, but it
actually
actually
did.
came out to be a real story
Right.
that drew people in.
And I do, and it is funny. And I mentioned it, I think, with my father last week on the last episode that we did.
Right.
That I was eating at IHOP with my wife on Boston Road in Mamaroneck. And someone passes by the table and is looking at me. And I thought, uh-oh, this guy remembers me from the Bronx or something like that. I didn't know what I mean, he's looking at me like I'm under a microscope.
Right.
And he says, "Are you an actor?" And I said, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh yeah, I am."
Some people think so.
And he said, "You know, are you on a soap opera?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm on Scriptless." He said, "Oh, you know, I've watched every episode." I said, "Wow," you know, and my wife that was the first time my wife was impressed, because it was the first time I've ever been recognized at an IHOP in Mamaroneck.
So she finally gave you some credit and said, "All right."
Exactly. But it was it was unsettling, because at first I didn't know what this guy was looking at.
Right.
And I didn't put two and two. The thing he was looking at, I didn't think was an actor. He was looking at me like.
Well, I imagine that the saturation in this area is pretty considerable.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot more people have seen it than you may have guessed.
Right.
And you never know until you step out.
Well, I would also say that probably if one person saw me, that means I mean.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's so weird, and I know that we put it. You know, it streams live, and that's how most of the people who I know are seeing it.
Right.
But it was interesting. That was a very interesting situation. Imagine if we were eating there. It's like, "Hey, Sam, how are you?"
Oh yeah, sure. Imagine that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's good that now you're on Scriptless MD.
Yeah, this is interesting what you have in plan here with Scriptless MD. At first I was like, MD, what's that mean? But then when I saw the way you and Jim had worked it out,
Right.
I thought it was very clever. I like the whole routine with him. He's looking for work, and there's the sign, and he's got his assistant.
Right.
I thought that was very clever, and I think that's going to be a good.
We had a problem, unfortunately.
I know.
And actually, we had two problems. This is the second time we had two. We had a problem with a card. You know, these technical issues could be.
Oh, sure.
They could drive you nuts. You have all these actors. You gave such a fine performance, but then we only had one camera. It was like.
Yeah, I know, but those things happen.
Yeah.
And you get obstacles, it's okay.
Right.
You work past them, we'll do it again, and it'll be just as good. It might even be better next time.
No, I think it will. I mean, at least we now have an idea of what our characters are.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing is, a lot of the times, again, with Scriptless, like I had a different concept of where we were going to go with the episode we shot last weekend.
Right.
But because we didn't have the location I wanted, we were able to shift it to be another story. So the thing is, as long as there's a story that ties into the whole story, we could do it, and it's flexible. That's one of the beauties of having a Scriptless series.
Well, I thought the episode we just filmed went very
fantastic,
well.
yeah.
I think everybody really was. I was surprised at how great everybody was, and by the time we got around the room to me,
Yes.
I was like, well, I better be decent. I was like, uh-oh, because everybody was really doing a great job, and I think it's going to come out great.
And the one thing I try to do now, especially as Scriptless evolved, is to make sure that people, everyone gets screen time. You know, to me, it's important. People are coming in, like you said, it's a workshop, and you know, there are people who are going to be whose characters are going to be more outstanding than others in terms of, you know, just the show. You know, I think that in quotes, the stars of the show are going to materialize as the story materializes, and the people who want to, you know. But I want everyone to feel like, you know, they're not extras on this show.
Oh, absolutely. That's the way to do it. I mean, there's nothing worse than being involved in something, as I can attest to, and being in the trenches for quite a few years. There's one thing to be supportive, and there's another thing to watch other people work.
Right.
I mean, if I'm involved, that's fine. But if I'm just watching somebody work all day and I'm not involved, I can't do that anymore. You know, that'd drive you crazy.
Would you mind if we watched you work?
Yeah, let's check out something.
Okay, so you know, we have this little clip that we have of Mr. Noah Forrest doing this thing on Scriptless. Enjoy.
I don't have to take a look around.
Take a look around. A place like this might make you respectable.
Like how?
Like with the clean money.
Clean money?
Wipe that crooked stank off you.
Crooked stank?
Yeah. You can wash it all you want, it never goes away, Sal. The minute I see you coming, it's like a dark cloud over the whole neighborhood. Here comes Sal.
That's right. That's the way it is.
Hide your lunch money.
That's the way it is. And
That's
you know
how it
why?
started,
and
right?
You know why?
Lunch money.
Because I got
Lunch
little
money.
rats like you running around thinking they can take over. It ain't gonna happen on my watch. Don't you ever forget about it. The only reason you're still breathing is because I know your father. Remember that.
Look at me, Sal. Huh?
What?
You see I'm breathing, right? I'm breathing real good.
Even the sister, they're just all, they don't care about me.
You're so much
I'm in
better
the wrong
than that.
place.
You're so much better than that. You don't need them.
No, I don't. I don't need any of this anymore. You're right. I really like being with you. You look at me, you're nice, you're genuine, it's refreshing. I'm not used to it.
Well, you're gonna get used to it. Because I'm gonna treat you how you should be treated.
Yeah? Well, so far, so good.
Really? You look at me. Look at me. Just look at me for a second. You're looking at me, okay? Now, on the other side of your brain, put a picture of Sal. A little tiny picture, because he's a little tiny man. A little nobody. And you're looking at me and you see him at the same time. And you're telling me you're going to choose him over me. Is that what you're saying? Just say it one more time and I'll never ask again. Go ahead and say it.
I'm choosing my family.
You're choosing your family.
My family.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You walk out, you go with him now.
I will.
But don't you ever come back to me for help again. Okay? And when you get the heat coming down on your house and turning over your couch cushions, don't call me to help you out. Okay? Don't you ever call me again to help you with nothing if you go back to him.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you're making the biggest mistake of your life.
Mr. Noah Forrest. Outstanding, man.
That was good stuff.
No, it was excellent stuff. You were great.
And she was great.
Yeah, that was the people you saw with that were your co-stars for those scenes.
Right.
Was Greg Kritikos in the first scene, and that was, I think, the second episode we shot that. The
I
second,
think so.
Yeah, and then then you were with Tina.
Tina Tanzer.
Tina Tanzer.
Very talented.
And that was episode 4, and I believe that was episode 6. It will be coming out in the next month or so, with Miss Lisa Rowland. Now, Lisa Rowland was like this.
Very talented.
Very talented. She's been a star of a lot of trauma movies.
Sure.
And you were in a trauma movie, and I was in a trauma movie.
You were in a trauma movie. I was actually in a trauma thing. It was called the Trauma System. It was some of the cable thing that was supposed to help you become a better man. It was quite interesting, if I say.
But I worked with Lisa in a movie called Slaughter Daughter.
Right, that's the film you did.
Right.
I look forward to seeing that. Is that coming out on DVD
It's been out.
soon?
It's out. It's been out for a while.
Okay, so it's available.
Yeah, it's available. But I played. It was great. That was the first time I ever worked directly to a camera. You know, I was playing a newscaster.
Right.
Following like a serial killer.
Right.
And it was great. And Lisa was one of the stars. And I think maybe she helped produce the show.
Oh, really? I'll have to check that out.
And she's wonderful. You know, She's a classy lady. I think she studied at the Lee Strasberg School.
Oh, really?
In California. I mean, she's an accomplished
Yeah,
actress.
that's high-end stuff there.
And you did a couple of scenes with her, right? I mean,
We did, yeah. I loved working with her. I felt she was a very powerful presence. And Tina Tanzer as well was excellent. Greg was great. I think everybody that has been involved has had great presence, great ability.
Right.
You know, these are people I'd like to see get a lot of work.
You're very kind. The other thing is, you know, again, a lot of people in this business are cutthroat. They say nasty things about other people.
Right.
I've never heard you say anything negative about any of the coworkers that you've ever worked on the set. You've always been, even though your character sometimes is a person, and even in your character, you always have character. You know, you're always a person that there's something about you, that even if you're playing a bad guy, there's a logic behind what, I mean, that's what you bring to it, at least in the scriptless environment.
No, I agree with you. I think there should always be some kind of underlying thing happening with a character. It's not just A or B,
Right.
you know, this way or that way. There's something else going on. There's a result and a reason for something. But as far as me being respectful,
That's it.
I am until people give me a reason not to be, you know what I mean?
But
But in this business, I realize how tough it is, and I want people to do well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I'm working with them.
But I've never heard you say a bad thing about any actor or any actress or anybody in the business. I haven't heard it.
I've been around a lot of people, and I've experienced a lot of negativity, so I think that I'm probably going to go the opposite way when I work with people.
Well, you're a smart guy. I mean,
appreciate that.
that's another part of your intelligence. My daughter's like that. You know, my daughter is the type of person that always.
Well, your daughter's like an honor student, isn't she?
Yeah, but
I was
she-
never an honor student.
No, but she never gets herself involved in any of the petty.
Right. She's
the
smart.
petty-
All right, I hear what you're saying.
Whereas, like, the rest of us in my family are at each other's throats all the time. You know,
Right.
like, but she's always been a person who's like, and that's what I see with you too, is that you're above, you know, maybe because you're so tall, but you're above the fray.
I don't like to play, you know, the games
Right.
so much. I like it to be straightforward. But I don't like people when they tell me something, it's not true. I don't like that. I
Right.
don't like BS. And I've gotten to a point in this business where I can spot that in pretty much under half a second.
Right.
So before the the speed of sound that is, gets to my ear, I already know you're BSing me, whoever it is. And I've heard it all, man.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Well, I'm just, you know, I'm happy I have this vehicle, the way to go, and also scriptless, just to have something to have, you know, to be able to hang out with my friends and to produce, you know,
It's
projects.
important to have something like this. And like I said, it's not just doing it and then show it to your friends on YouTube. You have an outlet for it here, which enhances it and brings it to another level as far as I'm concerned.
So, I'm still trying to think, you know, we shot episode 3 last weekend. We still got to go back and shoot 1 and 2.
Now we got to go back and do 1 and 2.
You know, do you have any, you know, I mean, I don't know. How would you like your character? I mean, you know, maybe I'm putting you on the spot with that, but what do you see about your character? It's a different character than in Scriptless, the first Scriptless.
Absolutely.
The first Scriptless, you know, I think you're a person who's trying to, you know, at least the way I envisioned,
Yeah.
you're a person who's coming back, you're torn between being you're a good son, you love your father, but you want to get a piece of, there's a lot of conflicting things, actually.
Sure. I'm not all virtue.
Right.
I'm out for something, as most people are. I mean, you can be the most virtuous person in the world,
Right.
but you still need stuff.
But
Okay, you can still have ambition, whether it's financial or whatever kind. Right. So I think for this character, you know, once we establish who he is, then we're going to throw a curveball, maybe flip him around to something else. Right. You know, maybe he's the guy standing back thinking he's, you know, a big player,
Right.
and maybe he's not. And then maybe he decides he's tired of watching other people do it, and he's going to do something a little bit more bold.
That'll be good, because I did kind of make you, I mean, I'll throw a little spoiler out. I mean, you're a tough-looking guy.
Right.
But maybe part of you is insecure, you know, because unlike you as a human being in real life, you might have overextended who you were to the public. You know, you might have, you know, enlarged who you are. You know what I mean? And you're going to get called on it, maybe.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be part of the interesting thing. And to the extent that we can, I'm throwing in more. I'm hoping for more comedy in Scriptless MD. Like, we had no comedy really in Scriptless, but in Scriptless MD, I'm looking for. I want it to be a dramedy, you know, and that's what I'm hoping most for.
We got a great comedic element there already.
Right.
I mean, of course, the first time we shot it, you know, we
funny.
lost that.
Yeah, I know.
But all the comedic elements are already there.
Right. But going back to Scriptless, the original Scriptless, what you haven't, what the world hasn't seen yet is that, in the beginning, there are touches, you touch on your humanity in the first few episodes. There's also there's a feeling that this guy's coming in for, just to take away, again, the prodigal son trying to take away another kid's inheritance or whatever. But I really can't wait for everyone to see your scenes with Lisa Rowland, because it brings out a totally, and even your scenes with Anthony in episode 6, who plays Vic.
Yeah,
in
Vic is
episode
twin,
6.
right?
Right. To me, first of all, the character comes out, meaning the sense of that you're not going to be, you're not scared. Mm-hmm. But also, you want to protect Lisa.
Yeah.
You're coming off as like a bad guy, but your motivation in that scene is to protect Lisa, and it comes out loud and clear. And I think it was one of your best performances on Scriptless, and I can't wait for you to see. I mean, there was just a little taste of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone seeing it. It was great. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
And every tough character, every bad guy even, though, has a likable quality.
Right.
They have to do that. Movies that take a character and make him hated by everybody universally, to me, is a failure. I mean, the guy can kill people and be the roughest guy in the world, but if he sees a dog in the street and he picks it up and he makes sure there's something, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's a touch of humanity somewhere in everybody.
Right.
It doesn't matter how rough you are or bad you are.
Right. No, and you were definitely, your character,
And you have to exploit that.
and your character definitely showed that. Especially, I mean, because of the circumstances that were, I mean, basically, well, I'm not going to give out any more spoilers, but you're really trying to protect her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was good, because, you come off like you're not, it comes off like you're being selfish.
It's not something you'd expect from me.
That's what I'm saying, and it was great. So it was like, and I look forward to more performances like that, of things that we don't expect from, the bag of tricks that you bring to the set.
I look forward to it as well.
I know, I'm so looking forward to it. So I mean, we could touch on something that we're going to talk about in the next episode if we can. I mean, I'm so happy for you that you were able to be on A&E, right?
AMC.
Oh, AMC. I knew the A. AMC is
You got the A right. That's all that
the
matters.
making of the mob.
Yeah.
Mr. Carlo Gambino.
That was something I enjoyed.
I mean, how many people went out for that gig and you got it?
I know that for each part there were upwards of 300-400 submissions each, at least. I mean, it was a nationwide casting call, coast to coast.
Right.
So just getting seen was something we'll talk about, I'm sure, very soon here.
I mean, I've only had a couple of. I mean, usually when I audition, it's like, like maybe there's 15, 20 people that are auditioning
Right.
for the independent films that I go out for auditions. But I did have one, and we talked about it like a couple of years ago when we did our first show on The Way to Go. When I went to an audition for an Hitachi commercial back in 1985, and I walked in, it was an open call. And I just walked in, and there were like 100 guys taller than me, more handsome than me. And you had a great line in the first episode of The Way to Go that we worked on. And, I bought a suit because I had been bartending in Hollywood. And I bought, from the 1940s, I was playing a mobster. And I bought a hat, and I had spats on my shoes and all this stuff. And then, the director said, you remind me of De Niro. That's the line that you had.
Yeah, that's right. You remind me of De Niro.
And when he said that, I knew I got the part, even though there were like 100 or 200, who knows, the place was packed. And there's nothing like that feeling of getting that part. I mean, how did you feel when you got it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's a build-up, and I'll get more specifically into it when we discuss it further. But I mean, we're talking about 4 callbacks. Yeah. We're talking about a Skype callback with the director, which I'll get into more. And so 2 weeks, 3 weeks would pass before each callback. And most of the guys were thinking, we didn't get it.
Right.
Because it was painstaking, man. And then one morning I got a call, and they said that we'd like to offer you part of Carlo Gambino. And I said, would you like to? Of course. It's a no-brainer, of course.
It is funny when they say, would you like to? And it's like, you're an actor. What do you think?
Yeah, I know, but
would you like to?
They present it very politely. Sometimes they'll say, we're offering you the right to first refusal. Oh. That's an industry term. And that's when I heard way back when I got A Kid Called Danger. But then and now, when you hear it,
yes,
when you're offered it, it's that jolt of adrenaline. It's that, you know what? It's a payoff.
Right.
It's a payoff we all chase.
That's it.
Kind of like a drug.
Right.
You can equate it to that. So yeah, it was.
There's nothing like it.
It was a great moment.
And I'm happy for you. I'm so happy for you. And I can't wait to talk more about it in the next episode. And I can't wait to see you on the set the next time we shoot Scriptless MD.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, we might be doing some more casting, I think, for the show, because I just want to make sure we have the right group of people. I know that, you know, I love that you're on the show. I love the people that we do have. But I don't know. I'd like to bring in new characters, and
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And once again, it's your vision. You're the director.
Right.
So if you feel the need to bring different people in,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And also, since you're the guy that's a Casanova on the set all the time, I got to bring in beautiful women all the time on the show.
I have such a tough job, especially when you say, "Okay, you're gonna start kissing her. You got a problem with that?" Oh, all right.
No,
What the
I
hell?
do remember the first, like, we're going back to Scriptless. I remember Tina. Yeah, she was great. But the first time you met Tina on the set, I mean, the first time that I had the scene with you and Tina, when she comes into the bar, and you come over and said, you know, I'd like to show you something in the back. I think she didn't realize. I mean, she's the type of girl. She's beautiful, great actress, but she's beautiful. And I don't think many times she's used to being the person who's pursuing rather than being the person pursued.
Absolutely.
And that, I just remember, you know, sharing something with the audience, is that my direction to her was, after a few takes, you're begging to be with him. He's not begging to be with you. And then finally it came that way. You know, at least it was it was more equal. But in the beginning, it was like, I don't think she got it. But
Well, it's okay, because that's the whole idea of putting someone out of the comfort zone when they're working, which
That's
is
it.
not bad.
Right,
It's not
like,
a bad thing to do.
Same thing with Greg. I tried to get him to be more of bring out the sensitive side with
Right.
Greg, and I'm really happy again with you with the scene with Lisa. I can't wait to see it, but unfortunately, we're going to see it in the next episode is episode 5,
And then 6.
and then 6. So
All
we
right.
have probably another 4 or 5 weeks.
Something
before
to
that
look forward
episode.
to.
Yeah, and you were great in it. I'm telling you. And we shot it in my old place where I used to work at
I
Ensign.
know.
And then we moved to 32 Late Street, and we shot it the next couple episodes over there. It was great. But, you know, it was, all good things come to an end.
They do.
And this was great, and it's really great to have you back on the show.
I'm happy to be here.
But there's only one thing left to say. You know what that is?
That is.
That's a wrap. Good night, folks. Thanks for